Hi, this is Jason Nickleby, Assistant Director with the Minnesota State High School League and the Director of the Officiating Program. I will narrate the first and last portions of this module with Bill Cronschnabel, the State Coordinator, narrating the rules changes, editorial changes, and points of emphasis. The member schools of the league, thank you for your commitment and service to the game of hockey. Thank you for your attention to the topics that will be discussed during this module. We'll now cover some general and hockey-specific information before moving on to the rules changes for 2024-2025. We will cover editorial changes, some points of emphasis, and a few reminders before concluding this meeting with some administrative review. Beginning this past fall, we added the concept of a pregame administrative and medical timeout. This meeting will take place approximately 10 minutes before the contest begins and will hopefully be led by a site administrator. The meeting will cover sportsmanship, what to do with a challenging situation such as an unruly spectator or other disruption, as well as medical emergency planning. We hope this meeting will get administrators, coaches, and officials on the same page going into their respective contest. This will vary by site and it is not required, but it is certainly recommended that schools follow the items on the pre-contest administrative and medical timeout document. Officials and coaches do not have a formal role in this meeting. They are just there to provide information and to hear about planning for these particular items. This does not take the place of the pre-contest meeting between officials and coaches.
It is never acceptable for a coach to be ejected from a contest. You are responsible for modeling respectful behaviors at all times. Should a coach be ejected from a contest, they are ineligible to coach the remainder of the game schedule for that day and must sit out the next date and all contests in the interim. This suspension must be enforced whether or not your school has received an ejection report. This is the responsibility of the head coach to notify their activities administrator of any ejections involving their program. A violation of this rule results in a forfeit. A second ejection in the same season results in a 4-game suspension. Ejections may not be appealed or reviewed. As you can see in the slide, a coach that has been suspended may not have access to the locker room, be seated or spectate in an area near the bench, or ride the bus to or from the contest. Athletes have similar consequences as coaches when they are ejected from a contest. They are ineligible to play in any game scheduled for the remainder of that day and must sit out the next contest that occurs after the date of the offense. This suspension must be enforced whether or not your school has received an ejection report. The head coach is responsible for ensuring compliance with this bylaw. A violation of this rule results in a forfeit. A second ejection in the same season results in a 4-game suspension. Again, ejections are not appealable or reviewed. Any athlete that is suspended during the regular season may travel with the team and occupy the bench area, but may not be in uniform. The difference with postseason is that an athlete who has been ejected and is suspended as a result may not be in a uniform, may not occupy the bench area, may not participate in the awards ceremony, or receive awards.
As a reminder, if a coach, parent, or other concerned party has an eligibility question such as chemical or behavior issues, should direct those questions to the activities director. Even if a hockey player is ineligible, the officials are not to rule on such matters, and all inquiries should be directed to the activities director of the school involved. Even in situations where the AD brings this to the attention of the officials, the activities directors are responsible for handling these situations, and officials do not get involved in alleged bylaw violations. The most common things that we see in this area are players being accused of playing too many periods, being ejected from previous contests, or receiving a chemical violation prior to that contest. In all of these situations, the AD of that school is responsible for addressing this situation and not the officials.
Hello, everyone. This is Bill Cronschnabel. I'm the Minnesota State High School League State Coordinator of High School Hockey Officials. I'd like to welcome you all to the 2024-25 high school season. We will now review the NFHS rules changes for this season, of which there is really only one change, which is reflected in several of the rules. This rule change is that neck guards, referenced in the rule book as a net laceration protector, must be worn by all players, including goalies. This rule is first referenced in Rule 3-3-1, which defines the required equipment for goalies. For goalies, the net laceration protector is a separate piece of equipment from the flapper-style throat protector, and goalies must wear both. Both must be commercially manufactured and worn as intended. Remember, the flapper-style throat protector must still be attached to the helmet or face mask, and again is a separate piece of equipment from the neck laceration guard. In addition to stopping play immediately when a goalkeeper's mask or helmet or gloves are displaced or skate blade broken, play must also be stopped immediately if the goalie's net laceration protector or flapper-style throat protector are displaced. In addition to the goalie, all players must wear a neck laceration protector, which must be commercially manufactured and worn as intended by the manufacturer. If, as play goes on, a player is observed either not wearing one or it comes off during play, an official should order that player to go to his or her bench immediately, and if he or she does not do so, it is a minor penalty. It doesn't matter where on the ice this occurs or what the circumstances are during play. Conceivably, you could have a one-on-one situation going on and then order the defending player to go to the bench, which then creates a lone break. Officials, please use common sense and be close enough to the player to make sure that he or she hears you if you order a player to the bench for not having the neck laceration protector on. Rule 9-4-5 was added to the rules book to define control of the puck, as the terms possession, control, and possession and control were inconsistent in different rules. The numerous rules affected are noted at the bottom of this slide. This doesn't change how rules relating to control are applied, such as backing into the zone with control of the puck and when to blow the whistle on a delayed penalty, and the like. Again, these rules are not being changed, it is just language in the book being simplified. Rule 9-4-6 defines possession. The thing to remember is that a player can have possession without control of the puck, but cannot have control of the puck without possession. Again, there is no change in how the rules are being interpreted from prior years. It is just a language cleanup. We will now review the 24-25 NFHS hockey points of emphasis. Violent and reckless play and player safety remain a paramount point of emphasis. Safety and well-being of the players is the primary focus of the committee. The committee has addressed the following areas to minimize dangerous, violent, and reckless play. As we discussed, net laceration protectors are now required for all players, including goalies. Everyone, players, coaches, and officials, and I would also include parents and school administrators, need to do their part to make sure the neck laceration protector is being properly worn. Sportsmanship continues as a point of emphasis. Good sports win with humility, lose with grace, and do both with dignity. It takes the efforts of everyone every day to ensure that sportsmanship remains one of the top priorities in high school hockey. Coaches and players need to understand that the purpose of a body check is to gain possession of the puck and not to injure, punish, or intimidate another player. Boarding and checking from behind are viewed as two of the most dangerous plays in our game. Coaches must understand that the responsibility for this rule remains with the player approaching an opponent along the boards. I equate it to driver's education. The responsibility remains on the following car when an accident occurs, even when the car in front stops suddenly or does something else unexpected. Everyone needs to understand that when penalties are imposed for checking from behind boarding, hits to the head, fighting, and blindside and late hits. They are all done for the purpose of trying to eliminate dangerous hits in our game and for player safety purposes. Here's just some reminders for officials regarding game management. Face-offs, make sure you get all the players properly set for the face-off. Call the icing when the puck is shot from behind the red line, and be in proper position for both offsides and plays around the net. We will now review some NFHS hockey rules reminders that are in this year's rule book. This slide shows the new option for authenticating mark on hockey pucks. Officials don't get hung up on this. Just play the game with whatever pucks are supplied. The goalkeeper mask guide is a nice reference to have to show the difference between these HEC certified and non-HEC certified goalie face masks. Coaches, please be vigilant to make sure your goalies wear a HEC certified mask. Officials, if you see a goalie with a non-certified mask on, order the goalie off the ice. Most goalies who wear a non-certified mask have a certified one in their bag. This slide depicts the rules which allow for state association adoptions. We will shortly be discussing the state association adoptions in Minnesota. This slide depicts the recommended rink diagramations and dimensions. Remember, these are just recommendations. Play the game at whatever the arena has in place. The pages in the rules book depicting the official signals has not changed from prior years. Just remember, on a delayed offside, point at the blue line besides raising your arm, and icing by an official who first signals it is the arm 3/4 raised and not fully raised. We don't like to see goalies heading for the bench thinking a delayed penalty is being signaled and not a delayed offside or potential icing. These apply in the 2-referee and 2-referee, 1-linesman systems. For the 2-referee, 2-linesman system, the arm can be fully extended on both the icing and delayed offside. We will now discuss a few rules modifications specific to Minnesota. A reminder that all games must have 3 periods. Schools are not at liberty to have 2 halves or only 2 periods. Each period must be a minimum of 15 minutes in JV games and a maximum of 17 minutes. All varsity games shall be 17-minute periods. Coaches cannot agree among themselves as to any variation. If a team is going to use advertising or recognition jerseys for warm-ups, they must comply with the specifications outlined in the document on the coach's dashboard and arbiter. Officials should not remove players from the ice, but should take note of uniforms that may not be in compliance. The game officials should then complete a contest report if there are any concerns about uniform compliance. Coaches, be reminded that no student shall participate in more than 4 periods on a given day. There are 3 exceptions: lower level tournaments, when a penalty carries over to the next period, and when there's an injury or illness to a goaltender during that day. Go to your coach's dashboard and check out rules and policies. Bylaw 502 for the details of these exceptions. Officials, you do not need to make any rulings on this bylaw. Administrators will make eligibility decisions. Remember that a game misconduct penalty is an ejection under MSHSL policies. The player or coach will be removed from that game for its duration and is ejected for the next games according to the MSHSL policy. There's an exception when a game misconduct penalty is assessed under Rule 4-5-2 for a player incurring 5 penalties in the same game. This is not an ejection under league policies, and the player is only required to sit out the remaining portion of that game. All game misconduct penalties, in addition to all game disqualification penalties, must be reported to the Minnesota State High School League. A player serving a minor penalty for another player or a captain's choice is not charged with a minor penalty for the purpose of counting the number of penalties assessed to that player in that game. This area is where the greatest confusion arises each year, especially by officials and coaches new to high school hockey, since at other levels of hockey a game misconduct penalty does not cause the player to sit out the next game too. Officials, especially, please do not tell a coach that you assessed a game misconduct penalty only because you didn't want the player or coach to sit out the next game. Anytime that a player receives a game misconduct or a game disqualification, the referee shall file an incident report with the Minnesota State High School League office. A player or a coach can only be ejected once, but if there are additional issues after an ejection, that information shall be included in the incident report. After an ejection, the officials may continue to assess additional major penalties to a single player. Officials must clearly advise the coach and scorekeeper that a game disqualification or game misconduct has been assessed. Officials must also ensure that the penalty is correctly reported on the game score sheet. Oftentimes, it may be better for a non-assessing official to speak directly to the coach and clearly inform the coach of the penalty assessed. On weekends and holidays, the ejection report forms do not always get from Minnesota State High School League to the schools before their next game. Be sure and check the game score sheet after the game to verify that it clearly and accurately lists the penalty assessed. Tell the scorekeeper that you want to review the game score sheet after the game to prevent the scorekeeper from immediately leaving the scores table and handing out the game score sheet before you have a chance to review it. It creates confusion in enforcing the ejection penalty sanctions when the game score sheet does not match the penalty listed on the ejection report filed by the official. Minnesota continues with having unsportsmanlike conduct as a point of emphasis. Reminder, it is unsportsmanlike conduct for a player to celebrate a goal by taunting the opposing team's players and or spectators. Officials should be alert for these situations and should use preventative officiating when possible and penalizing as necessary. Officials should be diligent in observing goalies who consistently displace the net off of its moorings. Officials shall warn or assess a delay of game penalty as appropriate. Just a couple of mechanics reminders for officials. If a line is your responsibility, get to it in advance of the play. And referees, get to the net when the play is in close proximity to the net.
Hi, this is Jason. I'm back to cover a few administrative items before concluding this module. Only new officials are receiving a rules book during the 2024-2025 season. All returning officials will need to keep their rules book until they receive a new one next season. If you would like a digital copy of the rules book, you need to go to the NFHS All Access website to register. Go to allaccess.nfhs.org to register to get a digital copy that you purchase through the app. The NFHS All Access mobile app can be found on the App Store and Google Play. It is free to download. Once you download the app, you can purchase rules books and other documents from the NFHS through this platform, and it's typically $6.99 per document. Once you purchase a rules book, you can search it, you can put down notes, and there are quizzes. Again, go to the All Access website to register and then download the All Access mobile app to purchase and to begin using the digital app. The NFHS Learning Center is home to more than 90 online professional development courses for everyone within the interscholastic community, including coaches, students, officials, parents, and administrators. More than 60 of these courses are available for free. Go to nfhslearn.com to register and to learn more about these courses. Over 23 million courses have been delivered since the inception of the NFHS Learn platform. As you can see, there are a number of courses that would be useful for coaches, officials, administrators, and others. Again, go to nfhslearn.com to register and to learn more about these courses. Bill Cronshnabel of St. Paul is the state coordinator and the regional coordinator for the metro area. CJ Burline of Minneapolis is the regional coordinator for southern Minnesota. Ron Story of Warroad is the coordinator for western and northwestern Minnesota. And Todd Plackner of Bovey is the coordinator for the central and northeastern regions. Please contact the person who covers your area with any rules questions, interpretations, or questions in regards to officials mechanics or officiating in general. Contact information is available both on the Arbiter Central Hub page and on the coach's dashboard. Mike Yeager has retired from his role as Regional Coordinator for hockey officials in northeastern Minnesota. We also want to thank Gags for his many years of service and for his outstanding contributions in elevating hockey officiating in Minnesota. Todd Plackner will be taking Mike's place, and we want to welcome him to the team. Many thanks to Mike for his positive energy and steadfast commitment to doing it the right way. Thank you to Mike.